Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Briz and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And good morning, dear ones. Rev Briz with you over here.
And Rev Z right here.
And we're a couple of ministers talking shit on a Friday morning. Welcome. Today, it's the New Thought Media Network. Today is the 19th. And hey, Z, you know, I didn't share this with you in our pre-conversation, but today is the day. This is the 1-year anniversary of, we weren't even known as New Thought Media Network yet, but today is the 1 anniversary of New Thought Media Network. Today's the day we started broadcasting prayers on Facebook.
Whoa.
1 year ago today.
Time has actually flown by. To think about that, man. Wow. Congrats to New Thought Media Network for holding it down for a year. You know, that's a big commitment.
Yeah, and we've made it. We made it this far. That's a good thing. So we're going to continue, and that's an important part as well. So do give me a minute, folks. We've been having some problems with our StreamYard platform, getting to all of our destinations, and I need to share this broadcast to a couple of destinations because it didn't make it there. So welcome to a Friday morning. Good morning, Chris. Glad you're with us. And Rev Z and I have been sitting here this morning and we've been chatting about, well, the big news of the week, Atlanta. And, you know, I shared this on Wednesday, Z. I'm one of those guys that I don't go out looking for the headlines. I don't go out looking for the problems. I don't go out looking for the news. And I've become very comfortable with the fact that the things I need to know about find me.
Yeah.
That which that's important for me to one way or another know about, those stories they're there. And Wednesday morning I woke up and man, I felt something weird in the air before I even got to my computer. And Atlanta and what happened there is the primary, the big story, the first thing that hits me. And what I know that's so imperative that that's the place that I do my prayer work.
Right.
The place we start from. So,
right.
So help everybody understand a little bit of where we've been, you and I already this morning in this conversation. I trust and everybody's already aware of what happened.
Yes.
What are we going to make of it?
Yeah. Well, you know, the thing that we started out this morning as we was, just reflecting, if you will, is if you don't know, there's a young man, I think he was 21, went to 3 massage parlors in Atlanta, and I'm not sure the distance between them, but I think through that he killed 6 people, from a mother of 2 to a Army veteran or military veteran. I'm not sure if he was in the Army or not. And he's saying, in some ways, he didn't say this, but in some ways, it's like the devil made me do it because he couldn't control his sexual temptations or however that gets articulated. But it was, it was perpetrated against mainly Asians. And so now we see, we were just talking about how we see these pockets, if you will, of devaluing people, right? Whether they're Black people or Asian people or Hispanic people or Latinx people, it begins to point a finger, in my mind at least, of the prevailing society, the prevailing system that values anything other than the ruling class. I mean, we can put this in all kind of You
Right.
can put it on a racial thing, a class thing, or economic thing. But those who are in the top tier of all those platforms, if you will, value anything other than itself. They devalue rather anything other than itself, and at least it appears that way. I can't speak for people's mind, but at the bottom line is we have another situation where a group of people have been devalued and killed, even if it's by one person. We know that's a prevailing thing. We look at I read something that said the attack on Asians complaints that were reported from 2019 to 2020 increased by 1,000, from 2,800 to 3,800.
Right.
And so, that's what we're dealing with.
And these are direct, in my mind, direct expressions of what we teach. You change your thinking, you change your life. And starting in early 2020, we started hearing this term, China virus. I just get goosey. I don't even want to say it because it's all bull, right? We know that is not what, but that phrase entered the American culture and it entered our American consciousness. And this is another outpicturing of it. This is an outpicturing of, well, and we're both kind of dancing around the terms here. So let's just call it what it is. This is white supremacist, good old American white supremacy rearing its ugly head once again. And I can't control myself. I'm going to take absolutely no personal responsibility for myself. And I'm going to violently eliminate the temptation because I can't help myself, because I can't control my own urges. The life keeps bringing us what we need most to heal, right?
It's funny because when we look at these different issues, if you will, that come up, so now, in addition to all the other stuff we've talked about that have come to light because of the pandemic, economics, medicine, education, race, now we bring in the real bugaboo in some respects is the whole sex issue, right? Yeah. So we have a culture that is definitely sexualized. And let's just be honest, unless you're in a cave, at least from my perspective, unless you're in a cave, you got no social media, no TV, everybody has been affected by the way sex is portrayed in this country.
Yes.
And it's a delicate subject to even walk down because it has become a loaded weapon, if you will. Yeah. And so now we have a situation where not only do we bring up this whole thing of sexualization, we couple that with race, and now we really have a powder keg. I'm sure people are walking very gingerly on how they discuss this because they don't want to go too far on either end of it. It's a powder keg of mess, and we have to begin to unravel the systemic, i.e., sexualization. That's a whole nother thing that we need to look at. I mean, just the other day there were several people, and I say several, but I think it's like 100 or so, who sent in complaints to the FCC, and they're asking them to take some kind of actions against CBS for some of the performances that were done on the show in terms of it being sexualized.
Right. The Grammy broke records again. The number of complaints to the FCC, right? But and I didn't watch the whole thing. I haven't seen it, but I've seen a few still images, and I do believe I'm a little tired of watching simulated sex in our public entertainment, and this isn't anything new, right, folks? Free Britney, because she, poor young woman, got locked into believing that's what she had to do, and she did that. And she did that on national TV, and there's a whole lot more to the whole Free Britney movement. We'll do that show another day. But I want to agree to that we have, man, to the umpteenth degree over sexualized media entertainment.
Mhm.
Now, folks, New Thought Media Network, if you're watching this, our tagline. We're here. We're a broadcast platform of positive media, music, and entertainment. And I have heard the argument, and I've seen it on Facebook, and I've seen it from women, that the song, if you don't know what song we're talking about, folks, it's WAP. And no, I'll say a lot on air, but I ain't saying that. And but I've seen this argument that this is empowering women,
Yeah.
that this is actually a song about female empowerment. And I can see that perspective. I feel ashamed as a man that the only way a woman can feel like she's being empowered in one of the most glamorous, financially lucrative industries in the world. I don't know how a woman like Cardi B doesn't feel somewhat empowered with the media conglomerate she's built. She's not just someone who's being I don't believe, who's being taken advantage of. And the song and the video and now the Grammy performance, it all adds up that I feel ashamed as a man that women feel that is the way to get to be recognized as empowered, as a fully actualized human being, because we need to be empowered to be fully actualized. So this is a step of hers along the path to feel fully actualized. I got to do better teaching my kids. That's for sure.
Well, and that's another point to this whole thing, and don't want to stray too far from the whole point of this guy in Atlanta, but when if we look at some of the roots of it, we were brought up in a real male patriarchal dominating society where, I mean, just think about it. We had to have a women's rights movement for women to get full acknowledgments and rights to vote and all that thing, because again,
and we never did pass the ERA.
And so, it comes from this idea where women were looked again as property, right? So, and that's been cultivated, if you will, into our whole society. And until recently, with the women's movement and things like that, those kinds of ideas have been breaking down, and we're still trying to work with them. I mean, you look at CEOs who are female and things like that. They're very few, and we know there's some really qualified women out there to run things, right? And so we wind up having, again, in the back of our mind, these ideas that go subliminal, but they're still operating. They're in the subconscious, and it becomes very easy to sexualize women, or to disregard women, or to disregard race or ethnicity. And so part of the question that we have to ask ourselves individually and collectively is, how do we move and begin to value all life? Because to do that means life doesn't have a value.
Right.
If I can just walk into a building and indiscriminately, I don't even know these people, they have done nothing to me, and indiscriminately kill them, not knowing if they have families or wives or husbands or any of that.
Mm-hmm.
There's some sub levels that we need to start looking at as well.
Yes. You sparked in me. It reminds me to let's look back at our global vision real quick. And number 4, we envision a world in which we live and grow as one human global family that respects and honors the interconnectedness of all life.
Yes.
A world where this kinship in all life prospers and connects through the guidance of spiritual wisdom and experience. Right? We're not just talking about don't beat your dog. We're talking about don't beat the neighbor, don't beat the kid down the road. This is we and don't beat somebody because of who they love or how they choose to dress or if they don't feel at home in quote their assigned gender at birth. And it feels like, so perhaps this is the healing, right? See, the longer I stay in this, 20 years ago I was blind to much of this type of injustice. I'll be first to admit it. I thought we were moving in the right direction and moving towards post-racial society. I really unwittingly living a fairly white supremacist lifestyle. And it's been years of work and uncovering those old beliefs, and I'm still appalled that they are still here in our culture.
Well, and part of that challenge is when someone comes to this country that's not white, or in Black's case, we're brought to this country, and you dealt with racial overtones and epithets and discrimination all of your life, it becomes you in a lot of ways you get shell shocked, right? Because you have to start second guessing, and you have to start raising your children to second guess, or to, as they say, throttle down. Don't be good, but don't be too good. Be smart, but don't be too smart. There's a double talk, because if you shine too much, you may be picked out and something done to you, however that is, because as a Black man or as an Asian man or Asian woman or Black woman, you are not supposed to perform at these kinds of levels. And when you do, you're already a target. So now you increase your targeting. And so it becomes, there's, trying to get to this understanding of racism is a very, it's like Les Brown said once. I heard him in a talk, says, life is like an onion. You have to peel it one layer at a time, and sometimes it'll make you cry. And that's what we have to start peeling that onion, and it's going to bring some tears up. But that's the only way we're going to get to the center, the heart of what this idea is and these issues are about race, that will get passed over from race to class to sex, because it's the same issue in a lot of ways.
Right. We've got a comment here from Linda that I want to explore for a moment. And right before we do, remember, folks, we've got a lot. This is like a major. There is so many intersections going on here. Sex worker or not, we don't know. People that were waiting in the waiting room that were killed and or seriously injured, that were just patrons. White racism and white supremacy. I'm sorry, white racism. Sorry, racism and white supremacy are in the mix. As soon as you tell me there's a white guy with a gun, with a gun shooting people, we've got mental health issues in the mix. There's so many intersections here. And Linda brings forward a really, really good question. From a New Thought perspective, all is God. We all have sexual organs and drives. I'm pondering how to tie all this into the New Thought view. Thank you, Linda, because what you sparked in me is there's a phrase that floats around New Thought a lot. It's all good. It's all good because it's all God. Yes and no. Right? Yes. And here's my trick. When I hear things like that, it makes me wonder if there's still a slight belief in there's still a sense of a personification of God. That this thing called God makes decisions. We want to remember that God is a power, a presence, and an intelligence. That's it. Omnipresent, omniscient, omnipresent. I say it in the easy terms, and then I mess up the omnis. But the point is that what we do with that power, presence, and intelligence is what we're talking about, and is what makes the difference. And from my perspective, this young man, yes, he used the universal laws to create the life he believes he wants, to create the experiences, to do the deeds he did. But that's not some AI in the sky saying that person's going to catch a bullet and die, that person's going to catch a bullet and live, this kid's going to do this. There's no grand direction happening. And I believe you know that, Linda. Looking at your other comments, I believe you understand all that. So what we have to look at from that new thought perspective is, what is the consciousness behind the activities that run these activities? Because that's where true change, and that's where true growth, and that's where true transformation lies. Is this kid could have walked into a religious science new thought community and had a different way and been presented a different perspective on his own ability, on his own, the power of his own mind to direct the conditions and make a different choice. So for me, this is the place where free choice comes in. Yes, we all have drives, we all have urges, and the vast majority of humans on the planet have have consciously chosen to self-regulate those urges, those drives, and not let it become violent, aggressive, and counterproductive. One of the two, Z, I'm going to use your term from the other day, right? Our prime directive, life is prime. So if you're doing anything that takes away from life, that harms life, that injure, then that is not of God.
Right.
That is a misuse of the universal law that is the power, presence, and intelligence we call God.
Yeah.
And the label we give to it.
Well, and you bring up a point, in my mind that we didn't explicitly say, but I'll say it explicitly right now, is that from a religious perspective, we have, I believe that we have to move. The whole idea of new thought is this movement, at least from a religious science perspective, is to move not beyond religion, but to move above religion, because even within the religions, there becomes this separation point, right? We live in this as mine is better than yours, and I have these things, and when you step beyond that, or you transcend that, and you begin to look at the prime directive, life is prime. And if there's something that is going on that is prohibiting or detaining or squashing life, and let's remember that life is included, we have this spectrum on everything. Life is included of birth and death. It's not life and death, it's birth and death. That whole thing is called life. Right. And so, and from a religious science, spiritual perspective, we live in this cyclical universe that allows us to understand that we're in an ever evolving, eternal, perpetual unfolding.
Yeah.
And when we can pin that as things that are prime and things that we want to support to continue, I believe some of this other stuff can be squashed.
Right. You used a great word in there, transcend. And even before you said it, my mind's like going in that direction, that this is our spiral dynamic connection. Mm-hmm. We transcend and include. So we're not bailing on religion. I've often said the only thing to be religious about is your own personal version of spirituality. Yeah. So, but we're not going just beyond, we're going above. Yeah. And in that above, we transcend those old limited beliefs about religion, but they got us somewhere, and they're still serving some. And the Catholic Church is still cleaning up its shit. I trust. So we transcend and include we transcend those old perspectives, but we still reach back and say, hey, you're not alone. You can come up here too. You can come join this new view, this new thought, this new perspective just as easily as anyone else. You don't have to. Your history is not your future.
Yeah. And that's where, you know, when we look at incidents, or at least when I look at incidents like this, where we have these mass murders and people doing things that are just so counterculture or counterproductive, you know, it speaks to a restructuring, or at least a rearticulation at minimum, our whole society, because these ideas, they get started when you're young. Yeah. How you view sex, how you view people, how you view yourself, how you resolve issues. All these things begin to formulate your personality and your persona, right? So your persona is what you show to the world, which could be good or bad. You know, I may have a persona to hide my fetishes, to hide my idiosyncrasies, right? But my real personality is I have some problems that I need to deal with. And if we can't begin to deal with that systemically from the family unit, the community, the societal, cultural, racial acknowledgement, value piece, these things will just be morphing. I mean, a prime example, right? We look at the COVID-19 virus. They say now they have, I don't know, some 400 variants. That is life, right? It will begin to morph, and because it understands that life is crime, whether it's damaging to something else or not, as part of the grand scheme. And so the same thing happens to us. We're not able to find a vaccine, if you will, to all of these ailments and maladies in life that are causing tremendous pain and death unnecessarily, I believe, in some cases. Then we're in for a long ride.
Yeah. I don't want to end it on that, but I think you're right. We are in for a long ride.
Oh, yeah. Well, a better note to end on. We got brand new tires. They feel to the right pressure. We got a tank of gas that's full. We got good windshield wipers. We're ready for the ride. We're just gotta map the course. You know, and when I first took scuba diving, the dive master said, "Plan your dive and dive your plan."
Right.
That way you'll get back up on top of the water. And that's what we got to do now. We have to plan the dive and dive the plan. We have to plan how we want to unmantle this and create this society that works for everyone, and then start working it.
I just had this image of settling into the car for a good 4, 5, 6 hour drive, you know, bag of Swedish fish and a couple of raspberries, iced teas in the console, and settle in because we're in for a drive. we're going on a vacation or a trip of some sort. So
yes, yes.
Hey folks, I'm Rev Briz. I'm here with my friend Rev Z. We don't pretend that we're going to solve the problems of the world. We don't even necessarily think we're going to talk about the problems of the world. We don't think the world has any real problems, but we do believe there are some places where people tend to misuse the law and misuse what we have available to us to create the life we truly desire. Mm-hmm. We do believe that we are creating a world that works for everyone. And we're here every Friday exploring how that's happening, what it looks like, and we trust how we can bring a new thought perspective to the conversation. We want to thank you for being with us. We want to invite you to keep coming back on Fridays or check out our archives on YouTube and Facebook, all of our past episodes. This is episode 49. Yeah. Happy birthday to New Thought Media Network here today. It's our 1-year anniversary of broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube. We started this show right after that, Z, not long after that. We got rolling on this program, and it's been a great adventure, and we're looking forward to more and more years of this kind of fun with you here on Friday mornings. So please do feel to reach out and drop us a line, ministertalk at ntmedia.org. Send an email. Let us know what you'd like to hear more of. Let us know what's working, or maybe what you'd like to see us do a little differently on this program. We really do want to make sure we don't want to just talk to each other. We do that enough throughout the week. We want you to be included in this as well. So thanks for being with us. Z, any final words before we let people get off into their morning?
Well, there's a sign there. Choose happy. Choose happy. Let's figure out how we can be happy, how we can love each other as our brother and sister, and begin to collectively work to create that world that works for all.
Yeah.
And when we do that, I think we're going to resolve some of these issues for sure.
Yeah. Thank you. I love it. I think that's what we've got today. It's all about choosing happy. So thanks for being with us, folks. Come on back in about 45 minutes for morning prayers at 8:15, 8:30, Rev Melissa and the Morning Sip. 9:30 is the Heart of Peace meditation. And 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock this evening, we have the Fireside Chat with Michael Mangus. Lots of new programming coming on Fridays in the near future as well. Starting in June, True Thought Miracles will be on at 10, and In the Flow with Rev Skip at 11 a.m. Mountain premieres in 2 weeks. And next week on this program, Rev Skip's going to be our special guest next week here on Ministers Talking Shit, and give us a preview of what you can expect from his program and what he's bringing to the network. So thanks again. Appreciate you being with us. Let's find something for everybody to look at on the way out.
Peace and blessings, everyone. Have a great day.
Let's go here.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.